With us tonight. Good evening, John.
Greetings, gentlemen. How goes?
Ooh. Wonderful. Thank you for coming on the show tonight. It's an honor.
Thanks for asking me on. Well, it's an honor to be asked onto your program. I appreciate it.
Okay. I'm Chris, and I have my two co-hosts, Jeff and Mark.
Hello, Jeff and Mark, and of course, Chris. Good to be with you. You guys sound like your daubers are down a little bit. What's going on? We're down here in the Big E, formerly known as the Big D. We're just clinging to our Bibles and our guns. We're in pretty good mood down here, considering we've been visited by Ebola and all, you know.
Excuse me.
The Ebola. That's the
yeah.
Seems to be the topic right now. That's all I hear now.
Yeah, naturally occurring, accidental, or deliberate. Who knows? Somebody does.
Your thoughts?
Yeah, what are your thoughts? What do you think? What do you think's going on?
Well, you know, I try very hard not to get sucked into that whole conspiracy woo-woo thing. However, I've been witness to so many conspiracies that were revealed that it's pretty hard to deny they exist, and in a multitude. So, I find the timing highly suspect. Let's see, first it was the big wave of immigrants, then it was ISIS cutting people's heads off, which amazingly looks somewhat like it was produced in a really nice studio or a set somewhere with a really nice camera. But I digress. And then, Ebola. Discovered in 1976, random cases here and there, and then all of a sudden, it's all over the place. It's weird. I feel like John Nash, as depicted by Mr. Telephone Thrower. You know who I mean? God. You know, A Beautiful Mind. Master and Commander, that actor, yeah. Can't call his name to save my life right now. Yeah, Crow.
Russell Crowe.
Of course.
Yeah.
Sorry. The brain cells flow in, the brain cells flow out. Anyway, you remember when John Nash would look at those documents and he would think that he saw these coded messages that were kind of highlighted as he scanned all these words? That's kind of what's happening to a certain degree. And unfortunately, so it's not imaginary. So far, most of it's panned out. But I think we're in tricky times leading up to the midterm elections, and this fellow Ben Carson, who popped off at that breakfast with the president, and then became the darling of the conservative side of things, or whatever they might be labeled these days. He made the statement that he didn't even think there was going to be a 2016 election. He didn't think we'd make it. So no, he wasn't really thinking about running because he didn't think we're going to have one. And all of this happening at one time, and these approval ratings of the leadership being so low, and all these scams. I mean, we know these guys have been making deals, of course. Just like that deal with Clinton and Gore. This Russian guy told me in L.A., this cab driver. He says, what they think is going to happen. You got two young guys up there. Of course, they're going to be fooling around with all the women and doing everything that they want to. What do you think? It's like, well, of course, you got a point there. At least it could have been, somebody on a par with Marilyn Monroe, but Monica's okay, I guess. It's just, we know these guys have been wheeling and dealing, but it hasn't been, their wheelings and dealings have never been quite so transparent as they are now. And people are getting mad because, people are letting it out that, guess what? J.P. Morgan Chase gets a little slice of all those welfare checks and food stamps in some cases because they process the payments. Bankers jumping off the roofs and guys getting shot in the head with nail guns 8 times and they rule it as suicide, stuff like that. It's just after a while you start seeing those highlighted words on the page there, guys.
Right. I haven't seen any banker suicides lately, not in the last couple of weeks.
Well, I guess maybe they've got their message sent, you think?
Maybe.
And most of those people being with Chase, that was...
Right.
Okay. I get it.
The nail gun one was exceptionally extraordinary.
I saw a cartoon one time. And these two detectives are standing there looking at a meat grinder, and there's an arm on it, and this ground beef, it looks like a big pile of ground beef underneath, and there's just an arm left on the handle. And one of them says to the other, most determined case of suicide I've ever seen. You know, he's ground himself up. Nothing left but the arm. So what part of the world are you guys in?
Me
Mark and I, we're up in Maine. Mark and I are up in Maine. And
that's a beautiful part of the world.
Yeah. No, it is. We were just talking about this before you came on. We got a lot of people that they kind of stereotype Maine as stereotypes. It's too bad. I live here, and I don't really see these stereotypes. I mean, I do, but it's nothing different than you see in any other state. But anyway, Jeff is from Pennsylvania. He's in Pennsylvania.
Yes. Northeastern PA. Since PA is so huge, I mean. Hello, John.
Greets.
Okay.
Yeah, it's beautiful in Pennsylvania. Penn's Woods. I remember that from the kiddie days. You know, back when I was a kid down here in Texas, you would see these old men driving around their Cadillacs. They're like in their 70s and 80s, and in some cases 90s, wearing their tailored Western suits that were usually a kind of a pale tan with these matching cowboy hat and all that, and crocodile boots, stuff like that. But you don't see that anymore. That's all gone. As far as the stereotyping of the state of Maine, that's all television doing that. You know.
Yeah, it is. Oh, it is.
Mm-hmm.
Television's
probably.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I watched this movie last night. I wish I had the name of it, but I can't remember what it was. Anyway, it took place in Maine, and everybody in Maine, they were trying to do these Maine accents, and they were failing bad. And it was mostly like Canadian accents. So I'm like, what is going on here? And so as the movie went on, I figured out that it was kind of the town was kind of closer to Canada, but still, that's not how it is here. We don't have people that live in Maine mostly, even on the borders of Canada. You don't really hear that accent unless there's people coming over from Canada or whatever. But Maine has obviously a pretty distinct accent. Mark has more of the Maine accent than I do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was about on a par with Kevin Costner trying to do a British accent in Robin Hood back in the 80s. And it didn't play very well either. He's actually gotten a lot better as he's gotten older. He's actually quite a fine actor now. I think he's a lot better now than he was in the beginning. I think he's just doesn't, he's just kind of the guy now instead of the guy trying to be the guy. And he's made some good pictures.
No
Jack Ryan was a good one. Jack Ryan was a good one. Did you see that one?
I have not seen that yet.
No, it's good. And Cruz, Cruz is a little bit of a freak, but he flies a P-51 Mustang on weekends, and makes lots of money, and so the boy's got something going on. I kind of like his movies, like what was that thing, Minority Report? That was a freak one.
Yep.
Talk about a prophetic movie, but he did this thing called Jack Reacher that's quite entertaining too.
Did not see
some of his flicks are actually really good.
That one where he was a Vietnam vet was good. I like that.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
So what's on the agenda tonight?
Well, what's been on your plate? What have you been focused on lately? What are any concerns or?
It's just the Ebola thing, and sometimes you find yourself in a building, high rise or something where you've got, wow, look at all these medical people who work here. This is really interesting, and you wonder. I wonder if I left that hazmat suit out in the car before I got on the elevator. Oh, well. Yeah, it's real crazy. We got a report from a source that indicating that another Ebola symptom E has arrived at the hospital, and known as Presbyterian. And Presbyterian, I got to tell you, Presbyterian and their healthcare system, their little network of various hospitals, I got to tell you, it's a first-class hospital. It really is. If you're injured in Dallas, like the way poor President John Kennedy was, you go to Parkland. They're number one for burns and trauma, period. If you are blessed that day, you will go to Parkland because they will be on you like a cheap suit. But for weird stuff like this, it really, and liver problems or pancreas problems are really specialty things that are a specialty, but they're somewhat widespread and they have a reputation for killing people. Presbyterian is where you want to go. I mean, that would be my very first choice to go. So, but something's wrong with this picture. Did you see this film of these guys in hazmat suits, and they got the nurse who was in her different colored hazmat suit? But there's a guy standing there with a clipboard while she's being loaded onto the plane.
Yeah.
I mean, what is that?
Yeah. We just brought that up.
Yeah, we talked about that
earlier.
Yeah.
I didn't even catch that. That sounds interesting.
I just think Mr. Obama's, case can be made for all. He's not running things. He's just a puppet whose strings are being pulled. I'm not too sure about that. I mean, certainly as an initiative in things, either that or the people who are pulling the strings and he are on exactly the same page. But 1 minute it's you can't get Ebola from sitting next to somebody on the bus, and the next minute it's don't ride the bus. So it's like, would you guys just pick a story and run with it? Because at this point, no matter what you say, you're wrong. It's just stupid. Just stop it. Either give us some substance or just say nothing.
Right. And I saw something, I think it was this morning I read, that there was some report about him claiming that he was hugging and kissing. He made sure that everyone knew this.
Oh, what was that? Yes.
The nurses from the hospital. So it's okay, trying to tell everyone it's okay. I hugged him and kissed him and I'm okay. And I don't know if it was made up or what, but.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was made up, like everything else. But the thing that gets me even more is, of course, freaks are everywhere. They're everywhere. But, the Halloween costume rage of this season is going to be, yes, Ebola victims. Sexy Ebola victims, I guess with sort of a little fan thing behind them that represents either a pool of their own diarrhea or a pool of their own blood. I'm not really sure where the sexy part is, but okay, whatever. Oh, that's right. They like to watch The Walking Dead, and they like to watch blood-sucking things. It's just weird. These humans are dangerous. Huh? Oh, yeah,
it's like completely legit. You've actually seen these costumes?
No, it's all over what we used to call the wires. It's all over the net. People think it's funny to dress themselves up like Ebola patients. I'm sure there'll be some hazmat suits out there too, but those are people that are trying to play it safe with their costume. If you want to do a real costume, you got to be a victim. So it's crazy. These humans are stupid and they're dangerous. Be careful. Watch out for them.
That's for sure, my friend.
I'm starting to feel more like Agent Smith every day.
Agent Smith, I missed the reference.
The Matrix, dude.
Oh, of course, sorry.
Yes.
Obviously.
Yeah. So anyway.
I guess we'll skip back a little bit here since it's your first time being on the show.
Yeah.
A question that we like to ask first. Usually radio hosts. We've had a lot of radio hosts on. Instead of just asking what got you into radio, I know that before you got, as far as I know, before you got into radio, you were radio came after your. You worked for. You were the announcer for The Late Show with Craig Kilborn, right?
Yeah. In the days before they got somebody really funny on there, and that would be Ferguson, because he is a scream.
Yes, and I love Craig Ferguson. He's going now, and I actually used to watch. I watched Craig Kilborn. I did watch that. I would either watch him and record Conan, or watch Conan and record Kilborn. But you are right. Craig Ferguson is a riot. He's my favorite out of all the late night talk show hosts.
Right. Same. Yeah. Always was right.
So he's bright and he's funny, and he's very quick. Right.
It's really the only one I was actually entertained by, I think.
Yeah,
me too.
Yeah, I mean, I like Letterman sometimes, but just now you got Jimmy Fallon, which I can't stand. I'm not a big Jimmy Fallon fan. I don't really find him too fun.
Yeah, I heard Leno is firing up some sort of not an internet show, but a cable channel show.
Really?
Yeah. That's the word.
Not a big Leno fan either. Although I did
like Leno, though.
Start liking Leno towards the end there, because it seemed like he was kind of speaking out a little bit more about things.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to say. I mean, ups and downs.
Exactly. So.
Well, that's what they're trying to do. I mean, at this point, it's completely undeniable that there are forces that are trying to. They don't want it. They don't care about having a discussion. They don't want to have an argument or present their argument. What they want is that there be no argument and no discussion. They just want that off the table, which is why people are saying that AM radio is dying, talk radio is dying specifically, not AM radio, but talk radio is dying. Give it 2 years, it'll be gone, and we need to go to these real quick talking points. Just hit them with the soundbite headline stuff and roll into something else and just try and be everything to all people. So, and you know how that goes. You try to appeal to everybody. What you'll wind up doing is appealing to nobody. And so that's where they think it's headed. But I think that's only because, really, as far as the media is concerned, the only medium that offers, any modicum of factual, truthful, objective, or otherwise critical thinking is talk radio, mostly on AM. So, and some XM, but not everybody has XM.
Right.
And there's a lot of vacuous content on every network, but there are some bright spots, and that's all you can do until now. If they eventually push talk radio off the cliff and just fill it up with more distractive, non-informational channels, and I mean, that's what they want to do. I mean, it's a massive propaganda machine, and you see how people behave. They're like wildebeests. It's amazing how they all bolt in a different direction at the same time and in the same direction. It's kind of the way the American public is. Sad but true.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, every public.
Speaking of, so what's your opinion on Coast to Coast now? I know that I know that it was January. You ended your 2-year reign of being a host on there. How did that come about? How all of a sudden you're on there one day and then you find out that John B. Wells isn't going to be hosting it anymore. So what happened there?
Just a phone call saying they're going another direction, and it was done on the. I said, well, tell me something. What direction were we going that you didn't want to go anymore? And the response was, she was very nice. She really was. She said, "Oh no, I love you. I love what you do. We've got a lot of political shows, that you'd probably be suited for." And I went, political, huh? I'm not really sure that's what it was, though, because at one point I had to tell a certain person over there, "Listen, I'm trying to find a bright spot somewhere in this presidency, but I'm not finding one. I am not going to say anything about him. I don't even want to speak the guy's name. But if you don't want his name brought up, maybe you should stop booking guests that are going to speak his name, which you should be able to figure out in the pre-interview interview." So I don't know. There are a lot of things there that weren't helpful. Make your music more mainstream. Okay. No. Don't talk about the Obama. Okay. But if somebody else talks about him, what am I supposed to do? Tell them they can't talk about him? What's that going to tell everybody? How much integrity we have? You know, nobody wanted to talk about Fukushima. Oh, radiation shows scare everybody to death. I said, really? Well, I'll tell you what's going to scare you to death more is if you wave a Geiger counter over your, Pacific fish and it goes off, because that's a pretty serious problem over there. Radiation is a strange thing to deal with. And, the visions that the movies have given us of, mass depopulation, that's not necessarily so, but it is miserable and can be miserable for generations on some level. It's just not everybody is susceptible to the same thing. Some people survive. Like Nagasaki is a swinging town now. Got flattened 70 years ago. It got flattened next year. It got flattened by an atomic weapon. Pretty serious one. And it came back. It didn't scorch the earth permanently. It's not glass, so I'm not saying nuclear war is a good thing. I'm just saying it killed a bunch of people and it screwed up a bunch of generations of children. It certainly did. But the race of humans survives, and we go on. But you can't ignore, 4 nuclear reactors melting down and they're spilling all this stuff out in the Pacific and have been for, what is it now, 3 years? Pushing into 4th year. It's not good. Not good at all. So anyway, they didn't want to talk about that, but those turned out to be very popular shows. And, the ratings, I'm not a subscriber to Nielsen, but it's my understanding that the ratings were quite high, and that wasn't helpful either, just coming on there once a week. So, there were several things that contributed to it, I am sure.
Bottom line is you were being completely censored.
Well, they were trying.
Right. Being asked, and as opposed to censors or editors from an angle.
I don't know what's happening right now, but there is sure a lot of chatter in this phone line.
Yeah,
it's normal.
Jeff,
you're breaking up, Jeff.
Okay.
We didn't hear anything that you said.
No, it was just who was breaking up? Was I breaking up?
No,
that was
Jeff.
Jeff. That's Jeff's Skype.
Oh, gotcha.
Yep.
All right. I was worried for a minute.
No, you're good.
Still with us, Jeff?
I don't know what he was saying.
Oh.
Well, Jeff,
no, you can't understand what I'm saying.
No, we can't. You should just reconnect. Call back in and reconnect.
Okay, I'll do that now then.
Yep.
I hate it when that happens. I'm not sure it was a good idea to run everything over the internet. Are you?
We have issues like this often, especially with Skype. We've had some major issues with Skype. And Blog Talk Radio isn't very reliable.
Well, use it while you can.
Right.
They would love to have control of the internet. They have control of it in Mexico. They routinely just slander people and engage in the process of ruining people's reputations by hacking into their Twitter and especially their Facebook accounts and posting all kinds of crazy stuff up there, discrediting people. It's and they rolled out the iris recognition scanning protocol. They rolled that out in Mexico. I think that was like 2 years ago. So there's a lot of tech in Mexico. Sometimes I think they're trying to get rid of their poor people because I suspect they have a lot more going on down there than we suspect currently.
Right.
Ask Ventura. Jesse Ventura thinks it's just the stuff,
Have you got Jesse on the show yet?
Yeah. He came on about 6 weeks ago.
Is he still? Are they still planning on running for a presidency for 2016? I know there was talk.
I did not get the sense that he was going to do that again. He splits his time between his place in Mexico and up here.
Mm-hmm.
He won his lawsuit against the family of Chris Kyle, the deadliest sniper in the immediate universe, and he was just trying to clear his name, he said. And after he laid the story out, I was convinced that he was on the level about it. Mm-hmm. And then he went on to reveal many other things, that he cannot really hang with his SEAL brothers anymore on account of the lawsuit.
Right.
And let's see and he's an atheist, and he's for open borders. And so while he was at it, I was like, well, is there anything else you'd like to tell us? I mean, what do you want to tell us? It's even more outrageous than this. I wasn't really sure what we were going to hear. So I don't know how much of I'm not going to say that I was disappointed, but I was slightly surprised by his responses. Not even responses, really, just his statements. I didn't pull anything out of him, but pull him into some jackpot. But it was pretty enlightening, I said, come on, answer me. You're a hard ass, so am I. He says, I'm not a hard ass, and I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute. You've been a Navy SEAL, a professional bodybuilder, the governor of a state, and you're not a hard ass. But I didn't say that. There was no point in getting into an argument with him, So I just thought, yeah, you're all warm and fuzzy. You look on your website, you look like you're ready to crush our skulls just for visiting your website. And so, but you're not a hard ass. Okay, fine. That's fine.
He definitely has that look about him.
Doesn't he?
He does. That's funny.
Yeah, go up there and just with your fingertips, just backhand his drink out of his hand and see what happens. Let me know, okay?
Right.
Anyway.
There's been a lot of talk of him lately. A lot of people have been, he's been making the rounds or whatever, but there's been a lot of talk of him. See something earlier where he told somebody just recently that he thinks there should be laws passed about capping, nobody should make like $36 million a year or something like that. It was some silly statement, I don't know.
Well, philosophically speaking, I can understand how that could happen. Chances are they won't have been done legally, though, so maybe he's got a point. Seems like it just seems like a certain element of crime goes along with figures over a certain amount. Of course, then again, crime goes on with figures of any size, so why worry about it? I don't think we should have a cap put on our productivity.
Right. Yeah.
When I was a child, like the tax on $1 million, you make $1 million, and the tax was $900,000. Yeah, that's really true.
Right.
And so it's gotten a little better, but they're going to have to tax more. I mean, something. I don't really understand economics thoroughly, but what I do know of it, and I talk to a lot of these people, and I ask them all, in many cases, the same questions. For example, it's like, what is a derivative? And it is possible to get a straight answer on that, but it's not the one that you expect it to be. The problem is that it inflates the economy artificially. These numbers are just artificial. I mean, one day I just had the idea. Sometimes you're seized with the desire to, I'm going to clean the whole vacuum cleaner. Well, one day I had a similar urge, which was, I think I'm going to read the entire back of this credit card bill. And about 40 minutes later, because if I didn't understand the sentence, I would just go back and continue to read it in pieces until I did understand it. And when I concluded reading this thing, I came to the conclusion that there's not enough money in M1 to cover. If somebody said, and this is in the 80s, I'm thinking, if somebody said, all right, day after tomorrow at noon, the bill has to be paid. Yeah, everybody's got to pay their bills in full. There's not even enough cash to do this. there in the M1 money supply, the cash and the checks and the savings accounts, so forth. There's not enough money in there to pay this, but I didn't hear anybody say anything about it until much later, and so it's an extremely complex system. As we all know, Federal Reserve has nothing to do with federal government other than the fact that they own it, and they do. And that's just how it is.